What I have learned in the past 5 years of owning a social media agency. Settle in, people, this is gonna be a great trip down memory lane. There's a lot to celebrate in the month of July. It is America's birthday, it's my birthday, it's now my daughter's birthday, and it is my business birthday. I started my business 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago, and it was just supposed to be me freelancing. Why? Because on my 30th birthday, I was working full-time for a branding agency, setting up their HubSpot, setting up their Basecamp, being kind of the account manager, running 7 different Twitter accounts for all of the people on the team who have different skill sets, different voice and tones. And I was tired. And I also had this realization, like, if I'm doing all of these things and getting paid for one role, but I'm clearly doing multiple, then maybe I can do this by myself. And it wasn't until I had this like aha moment, right? Where we were sitting around a table with a client at the time who is a business coach, where she's like, oh, people typically work with me when it's 2 things are happening in their life. 1, they are reaching a ceiling in their current role, or 2, they're approaching a big milestone moment in their life, a big birthday or a big anniversary, etc. And I'm sitting there like, is she talking to me right now? Like, I think she's talking to me, because I was about to turn 30 and I had OSnap Social on the side that I had been growing for a couple of years. Truth be told, I didn't have like the gonads to be like, let's go for it, let's do this thing, the hell with security and money and forget it all, like I'm just gonna go all in. I am too logical for that. And security and entrepreneurship are not on the same playing field, right? Long story short, I hired this business coach like behind the scenes, and we came up with a plan of how I was gonna move forward with OSnap Social, go all in on my business. I also started reading Profit First. If you are new in the business world and you're a freelancer, or you have a side hustle, whatever it may be, please pick up this book. It was something that definitely opened up my eyes and answered the big question, how am I going to pay myself? Because for the past couple of years, I had been building OSnap Social on the side, still working full time. I was busy. I was working till like 2 a.m, okay? I was doing all the things. And I was also at the same time self-funding my full-time venture. So I had a good chunk of change sitting there when I left my full-time job to serve as a cushion, which is really important to note and to remember that you need a little bit of that money to sustain you going forward. So it's not as easy just like jumping all in and being like, we're gonna do this thing, because we all still have to live. And again, me valuing security, I felt secure in my decision to leave my full-time job because I had worked hard with OSnap Social as a side hustle to lay that foundation and having that initial funds so that I could, pay my rent at the time. So just something to think about. In year 1, I learned that freelancing and agency ownership are very different things. And the funny part about kind of shifting from being this solopreneur freelancer to agency is I actually didn't want to own an agency. I didn't want to manage people. I didn't have experience managing people. And it's not something that I ever thought I wanted for myself until I realized that in order to scale your income, in order to scale your impact, you have to grow your business. And in order to grow your business, especially in the work that I was doing, right? Social media management, creating content, developing content, that takes hours of your time overtime. And I was tapped out. I reached my capacity. I couldn't do anymore. And I needed to bring someone on to help me. And in that first year, that's exactly what I did. And that sounds just like crazy to think about, that I reached capacity out after, just 1 year in business, but it was a necessary thing that I had to do in order to scale. I also learned the skill set of what it takes to be a fractional social media manager working within an existing company. I loved doing that, and I want to be doing that more as I continue to develop OSnap Social now and beyond. And the biggest thing is, I know that I work really well in existing systems and processes because of my career so far, right? Before I went all in on OSnap Social, I was working for startups and I was working for small businesses and I was working for e-commerce. I am very flexible because I've had to be. And that makes that part of my skill set that's unique to me. And I can literally jump in get my hands dirty, figure out the processes, ask really good questions. And that was another great experience that I had learned in my first year. And by the way, it also paid me pretty handsomely as well until I could get some more clients into my retainer model. There's also a big power in subcontracting to get you started. So year one, I have been working as a subcontractor for another agency, a revenue operations agency, as their social media strategist and manager since 2016. I've been working there for a long time and I still have that relationship today. This was a great outlet for me to get my feet wet, to get some income going, to get some experience so that I could then go out there into the world and snag even more clients, which was really great. In the first year, and I'm laughing about this one because this is not something that I do well, and that is asking for help. I am not as great at delegating. I'm getting very skilled at that these days, 5 years in, but asking for help is okay. And it is necessary, once again, to scale and grow. And asking for help has been super tough. Perhaps it's the only child in me where I'm like independent, go, get it done myself or it doesn't get done. And so I had to release a little bit. And I learned that my first year, and I will tell you, I am still learning it today as my team has ebbed and flowed and gotten bigger and gotten smaller, and it's a challenge. And I'm very aware of it. I think the biggest thing too when you own a business is you should become hyper self-aware and your EQ should go up as well. So that is a constant learning curve for me. I also learned the skill set to prop up minor systems. And at the same time, in my first year, I learned that that is not my bread and butter. I am terrible at it. Because again, I think because I'm so malleable and I am a creative, that putting together consistent SOPs and things like that is not my forte. And it's not that I don't care about it, because I absolutely do, because it makes everything replicatable and easier down the line, especially if you add more team members, add more clients. But for me, I just didn't have an opinion one way or another because I've had to be effective on my own for so long. So I was able to prop up some minor systems. Me and my other team member that I had just hired year one, we're working on them together, and it was going really, really smoothly. And how I was able to do that, because this first year, I actually got married. So that was a big thing for me. So I needed to have those minor systems set up so that I could literally unchain myself from my laptop for 3 weeks while I got married, and I went on a honeymoon in the middle of the Mediterranean Ocean on a cruise ship. I did all of that in 2019, and I left my client work. I got all my client work done as much as I could. I had my one team member who was a 1099, making sure that the clients were okay. I had someone else monitoring Facebook ads who was skilled at Facebook ads and making sure everything was propped up there and was running smoothly. And I checked in one time while I was gone, because we did not buy the Wi-Fi package on the ship. It was our alone time. And I will forever be really proud of myself for one, getting all that work done, and two, giving myself that boundary to exist in this newfound life and newfound chapter that I was embarking on. And my first year, thanks to my wonderful business coach, I learned the power of networking. And of course, you're probably sitting there like,
duh, like Carlin, like that's the main thing.
But I joined an incredible BNI group, and you might have an opinion about BNI, good, bad, or otherwise, but I will tell you, after visiting chapter after chapter after chapter here in the Northern Virginia area, I found the chapter of all chapters, and I was determined to get my butt in that social media seat within that chapter, and I did. And I'm forever grateful for the 2 years that I was a part of the chapter, that I was part of leadership in that chapter, and I made lasting relationships with the individuals that were in this 40+ member group. And some of them today are still my clients. And I will forever love that group. I just knew that I had to continue to scale. I needed to continue to move forward and expand my horizons and meet other people in different areas within locally and beyond. So it's definitely something that I recommend if you are just getting started in building up your agency. Join a BNI chapter, but find the one where people are like jazzed to be there and it's 7 a.m. on a Thursday. Because that's exactly what I did. I'm a big energy person, and I just felt the fire and the energy and the excitement of the people in that room. They kidded with each other, they had personalities, they were awake, they were participating, and they genuinely cared about the other business owners in the room and the guests that came to try out the chapter or be subs, etc. So get out there, get networking in person with real people, because not only will it elevate your skills on how to network, but it'll also put you into different orbits within your local community. Because again, even if they're not your clients, they might know someone who is. And that's what I think a lot of us forget about when it comes to networking. So that is year 1 in a nutshell. Moving on to year 2. Year 2, where do we start? Okay, this is 2019 through 2020. We all know what happened in 2020. I learned in year 2 that confidence is everything. When a worldwide pandemic came about and I literally had to flush my March 2020 content calendars that I had already prepped, literally down the toilet, I knew that I had to be all in on this digital landscape that we were doing, that I was amplifying, because now everyone more or less was getting forced into this digital landscape for networking, for business building, for social selling, for just brand reputation, visibility, because we couldn't network in person. We couldn't be out there knocking on doors and shaking hands. But I had to elevate my confidence as in who I was as the owner of OSnap Social to another level. I tried new things. I created virtual workshops. I feel like everyone at that point actually created virtual workshops, but I did it and I got a great response from it. I closed some clients from it, but it all stemmed with having this outward confidence about social media and having it being part of this larger plan, not just in 2020, but and beyond. And once again, I understood the importance of systems. Again, not my bread and butter, not a skill set that I have really, but it allowed me to really focus in on how are these systems that we're doing over and over and over again as we were continuing to see our revenue go down and then spike right back up. Because I was only one person, I had one contractor, she was only one person with, you know, what is the phrase? Like, we only have 24 hours in a day, the same as Beyonce, right? I'm a single lady, I'm a single lady. Anyway, so even though a worldwide pandemic was still upending the world, I took this time and in that slow kind of valley before that peak hit where our new normal was suddenly, you know, becoming reality, right? I hired an online business manager to come into my business, to open up the systems and processes that I had, to make them better, to document things that I was doing over and over and over again, and create the systems at the same time, taking some of those systems and processes off my plate so that we could pull them into automations. This is no small feat. And so this is what I focused on. Majority of my second year is getting some of those processes propped up, getting my base camp squared away, serving the crap out of my clients in the best way to keep them thriving in a very uncertain world at the time. So year 2 was keeping things afloat and serving clients and getting my systems kind of rocking and rolling. And I'm glad that I did that, because in year 3, here's what happened. So in year 3, 2020 to 2021, I learned that I needed to hire more. I was going insane. I was working, I was slowly feeling the burnout, right, as everyone does. And I wasn't paying attention to the burnout. I was kind of just like, okay, on to the next, okay, on to the next, okay, on to the next. And I really needed an account manager, because my calendar, to quote my operations person, Carlin, your calendar looks like Skittles. It was like rainbow color coded all over the place. And so I realized I needed to hire an additional account manager to take on some of these leadership responsibilities, client facing responsibilities, and serve from a strategic level. I did that. It was exactly what I needed at that time. That being said, our SOPs and things were not quite in alignment yet. And that weakness showed and led to burnout of other team members, which led them to leave OSnap Social. Because in the summer of 2021, I onboarded 5 clients in 1 month, and it was absolutely insane. I will never do that again. Lesson learned. It was too much. It was great growth that I had been prepared for, growth that I wanted to see, but not at the expense of my sanity or the sanity of my team. Because my team is super important to me. Clients are replaceable, team members are almost impossible to replace. So that's something to, think about as you're building your company, is to always have your team members back, to listen to them, to ask them how they're doing and questions, because you never want someone to leave on bad accord because they were overworked, right? Like, we're all in this freelance contractor space to have time freedom, money freedom, all of those things, and have that creative freedom as well. So often when you are in go mode, you're focused on where you're going, not kind of being present to where you actually are right now, and then also reflecting that back to your team. I also learned that hiring is the actual hardest. It's been the biggest pain in the butt as a business owner, and I will just leave it at that. I've learned a lot. I know what I'm looking for. I know that there's amazing people out there. And I also know that we're not for everybody. And I also know that people really want full-time work. Part-time sounds good until a full-time opportunity comes and poaches you from that part-time world. So learned a lot, have put hiring on pause, have leaned out my team since then, and it's probably been the best thing for me. Anywho, more on that in a little bit. I also learned to slow down, kinda. And the reason why I say kinda is a few different things. Year 3 was a literal like blur. Like, I didn't see myself coming or going. I still to this day, I'm like, what happened? But I think we all feel that way about that 2-year period, like 2020, 2021. Like, it's just like, what even happened? No one knows, right? And I think for me, I was operating a lot in survivor mode, even though we were fine. We were growing crazy town, but we were getting burnt out. Like, my creative juices were in a drought because of the burnout. My motivation was low. I felt like I wasn't showing up for my team the way that I needed to show up for. It was a big learning period. Year 3, it was not for me. Okay, so what did I learn in year 4? I learned that burnout is a real freaking thing. Yeah. And I also realized that if I didn't somehow climb my way out, I would be in deep shit. OSnap Social probably would have gone up in flames. I would have just burned it all down, because it felt like every other week I had the just burn it all down moment. Just forget it, it's a wrap. I'll just go get a full-time job. But every time I thought about that, I was just oh. Because shifting into a full-time job when you've been in this kind of freedom space for as long as I had been at the time, it would have taken a impeccable role for me to make that transition, right? Because I think the biggest thing was I was chasing after a dollar amount that the entire online world was touting.
Make 7-figure business owner.
Make 7 figures.
You can make 7 figures. I made it in 2 seconds.
All these messages that we're inundated with, that's what I thought was my goal. 7 figures or bust, let's go. But at what expense? And so if you are listening to this and you're, trying to reach 6 figures or 5 figures a month or, 4 figures a month, shoot, whatever it is that you're trying to get to, I want you to kind of take a step back and ask yourself, why? Why is that number matter to you? What does that number represent? Or are you listening to what everyone else is saying that you need to get to? Because I will tell you, I was chasing 7 figures and I was getting burnt out bad. So much so that I was just what is even the point anymore? I'll just burn it down. Can you imagine? So I did a lot of work that year to climb out of that hole of burnout, to get my motivation back, to get my creativity back. And I will tell you, it wasn't easy, and it is still today a constant work in progress. Another thing that I learned in year 4 was creating boundaries and sticking to them. Creating boundaries, I found, was super easy. Tuesdays, CEO day. And then slowly, CEO day started getting booked with appointments. And one way that I was able to combat this boundary breaking thing that I had going on is I actually hired an assistant to manage my inbox and my calendar, and she helped me maintain my boundaries. And I will forever be grateful for that, because it's definitely a muscle as someone who, like me, who's like a high achiever, who wants to get everything done and wants to serve their clients well and wants to bring a new business and all of the things. Your boundaries matter. You set them up for a reason, so let's stick to them, right? And when you own your own business, you actually, like, the reason why you own your own business is so that you can create your own schedule. And so if Tuesdays you want to have CEO days and Fridays you want to have off in the summer, what's stopping you from doing that? 9 times out of 10, the answer is going to be you. I also learned in this year that I was going to be a mom for the very first time. It was so exciting to know, but also panic, right? And this is when I leaned into my operations. This is when I leaned into the systems that I had built and really tried to figure out who the clients were who were for me and who weren't. And you can tell very easily when you share that kind of news with clients if they're happy or if they're panicked, right? Same with team members. And so I was really excited to be a mom, but I also knew that if I wanted to enjoy my maternity leave the way I had envisioned it, I needed to get some systems rocking and rolling again. And I will tell you, and I'm finally happy to see that some more, moms, business owners are coming out with resources. But for I was searching high and low for resources for entrepreneurial women who are going out on maternity leave, how to prep for maternity leave. Like, those resources didn't exist, and I think now it's starting to come out, thank goodness. It's something that I was panicked about. I didn't know how to prepare. I tried my best, and even then, it didn't go to plan. Which leads me to year 5. The biggest lesson I learned is you can plan all you want, and not everything goes to plan. I did all the steps necessary to prep for my maternity leave. I hired another account manager to run the meetings, client facing. 2 weeks before I gave birth, evaporated, ghosted. I have no idea what happened. She wasn't answering my phone calls, emails, text messages, and I was sitting on the other side of the screen, panicked. I'm very grateful for the team members that I had who stepped up and took the meetings on my behalf so that I could enjoy my maternity leave, though shorter than I would have liked. But again, you can plan all day, every day, and things sometimes blow up in your face. And that's part of business ownership, is knowing what you want, sticking to the boundaries, creating the plan, and seeing if we can all execute on it. I think the bright side, though, from developing a plan is my clients knew what to expect. They knew that they were well taken care of while I was gone. They were happy for me, which I think is great as a business owner. And I also used this time to press pause on onboarding so that the team could just kind of maintain where we were at without having to worry about onboarding new people, doing sales calls, that sort of thing. In hindsight, now that I'm out of, I'm into year 6 now as I'm recording this, I wish I hadn't pressed pause on the pipeline, because I think right now we would have kind of had that growth continue. Like, the pipeline would have been full, we would have been sowing the seeds, continuing to build the relationships forward. So hindsight, it's always 2020, which is fine. I also used year 5 as a time to refocus on my why. Here I have this precious new baby, my priorities obviously have shifted, but I think my why I started OSnap Social, why I wanted to be my own boss, had gotten super fuzzy. And it wasn't until I went to a conference that had mom entrepreneurs, mom business owners, all in the room collectively, that my why was brought back into focus. And for me, I started OSnap Social to have my family be priority, to have my time back, to create my own schedule, and to be able to do that and not have a cap on how much money I can make. So that was a big thing for me this past year, was just refocusing on why I built a business, why I even wanted to do this in the first place. So this was the year that I was aligning my business with my life, not the other way around. The final thing that I learned this past year, in year 5, is to stop with the hustle mentality and really focus on 3 things: maintaining where I'm at, simplifying my systems and my team, and refining my skill sets. That was it. And I'm like, this feels like a mantra to me, like maintain, refine, simplify. Like, I feel like I should get it tattooed on my forehead so I never forget it. But in this realization of uncovering my why, of aligning my business to my values. I think it's given me this inner peace. It's helping me recover from that burnout that I had felt in year 3 and 4, and really focusing on it being less stressful, more fun, attracting clients who are for me and repelling ones that aren't, and not just taking on work because we need the cash flow, but really because there's an impact that we can make. There's a purpose-driven element to it as well. So I've learned, as you can see and hear, a ton in the 5 years of running my social media agency, OSnap Social. And the learning does not stop here. I am consistently learning and changing and evolving in the best ways. And with that, I would love to know what you've learned so far on your journey. Whether you're just starting out as a freelancer or you're more established into building your own agency. I would love to hear where you're at. And until next time, I've been Carlin Ankrum with OSnap Social. I'll see you through the screen really soon. Bye for now.